Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and today we're going to carry on with the new Players Handbook, a mini-series I've put together to help new players get their feet under the table in the game. So today we're going to be taking a look at trading, the third and final profession for the time being. And in the current incarnation, traders make money by buying commodities at one location and then selling them on at another for a profit. So please feel free to get in touch in the comments. There's no question too small or too dumb if you're starting out. But just a word of warning that I'm pre-recording this vid ahead of a house move, so I'm going to be thigh-high in boxes over the coming days. And I'll do my very best to get back to everyone, but I might be a bit slower than usual. So I'm sure by episode 6 of this series that you can guess the next few things I'm going to say. But this could be someone's first episode. They could just be really interested in trading. So if you're just watching this to get a feel for whether or not StarSet's for you, then just make sure that you use someone's referral code when you set up your account. So I'm going to flash mine up on screen, but I'd actually encourage you, if you've got a friend who's maybe said, come and try Star Citizen out, just try and use theirs. The big benefit in 3.14 is you'll get a Drake Dragonfly for you and for the person who refers you. And you also get 5,000 UEC, which when you're starting out can be really useful. The idea behind this mini-series is to really, give you just enough education to perform, get you going in the game, but the point at which it really pops off is when you play with other people. So if you are looking for people to fly with, then please feel free to come and say hi to us on Discord. I'll drop the link down below, but we've got a really great community, and we put on regular events just to see what we can get up to in the verse. So I'm starting off today at Everest Harbour, where we're going to make our way to the cargo deck. So if we just jump in the internal elevator and hit Cargo Centre. Elevator rides might take longer than advertised here. I get to go back in editing and snip out the middle part of the ride to keep the timer down. But if we come out of the elevator and we head round this way, what we're looking for is one of the rental stations, because just like with the other professions, we've got to have the right tools for the job for trading. So here at Everest Harbour cargo deck, we've got a rental terminal over here, complete with T-posing employee. But if we go in here, we're going to take a look at the MISC Freelancer. So this is going to set us back 31,952 AUEC. That's going to be ours for 24 hours. So you could use the Cutlass that we rented from the mining video, or you could even use the Avenger Titan that we did in the bounty hunting last episode. But I want to try and show a variety of ships, and the Freelancer to me is the quintessential space truck. It really feels to me like the type of ship a hard-working, aspiring trader might start out with. It's got room for 66 SCU of cargo, which is more than the Cutty and sizably more than the Avenger. But I guess we'd better go into a bit more detail on what that actually means. So one standard cargo unit, or SCU, represents a box like this in the back of your preferred space truck. So ships will all have a cargo capacity stated in SCU detailing what they can carry, although bear in mind that a number of ships like single-seater fighters will have 0. So each SCU represents 100 units of a commodity. So when we say that our Freelancer has 66 SCU, we mean it can haul up to 6,600 units. So before we get too far into things, we're going to need to know where to go. So the best place to start is a trade tool like Galog. There are a number of options in this space, but I like Galog's aesthetic looks. So here, if we go to trading on these drop downs, we get to this screen, and we're going to start by inputting our ship. So this is going to be the Freelancer. Search that from the list, and we're going to also need to specify how much Alpha UEC we're willing to invest in our cargo. So just go for 50,000 and hit calculate. I'm not too worried about where I'm going to pick up and drop off. I just want it to give me the best ideas. So its suggestion is that I pick up 6,600 units of titanium from Tram and Myers on Selin, sell it at Area 18 for a profit of nearly 12,000 credits. But Selin is very far away from where I am. It's near Microtech. So if I click on titanium itself, I get to this screen where I see all of the potential selling locations for titanium. So more conveniently than a trip out to Microtech to go to Selin, both of the mining stations on Ariel, which is one of the moons around Hurston, also sell titanium. Prices aren't quite as good, going to be paying a bit more to fill my hold, but time is money, and so the less time I can spend travelling around in QT, the more profitable I'm going to be, even if I take a slightly lower profit per run. We also want to pay attention to the other two columns here, so refresh per minute and the max inventory. Inventory indicates the amount of a commodity that the station in question will build up in its stores, while the refresh per minute indicates how many units are resupplied when the current inventory isn't maxed out. Servers tick over roughly every 5 to 10 minutes, at which point supplies are refreshed. However, it's worth bearing in mind that the inventory data is shared across all of the servers. So even if you can't see anyone around you at a trade terminal, 20 other people might be stood there on different servers trying to perform the same transaction. So while the price may look very appealing, you want to know that you'll be able to fill your ship up without waiting around too long. So with that in mind, the higher inventories and refresh rates of the stations on aerial make those more appealing again than selling. This also applies sort of when you come to sell. The stations which buy off you also have inventories and refresh rates determining how much they'll be willing to buy. So with that in mind, I am going to head for Area 18, where it's got quite a lot of demand for titanium. It is worth bearing in mind that the prices fluctuate around a bit, so don't take what you see on sites like Galog as gospel, but use it more as a guide for what routes might have some profit in them. Sorry that it's dark, but we're going to jump into the Freelancer here. There are two ways in, either through the back or up this ladder on the left-hand side. But we'll take the ladder this time. So the Freelancer is a great little ship for trekking around the universe with a bunch of mates. You've got space for 4 of you, including a bunk bed each. So if you want to get a bit of multi-crew, you can even have a seat on the flight deck for everybody. So the first bit to really think about is maybe a bit of misdirection. So we know we're off to Aerial to buy titanium, but not everyone needs to know that. So let's start by setting a course for Aberdeen. So just got to be a bit wary that there might be people lurking somewhere like here at Everest, watching for people in trade ships or mining ships to head off to a certain place so that they can set up an ambush. So to anybody else, it's going to look like we're on our way to Aberdeen. But then what we want to do is, after we've got about half of the way there, we hold B to pull ourselves out of quantum drive. And now from this point in the middle of nowhere, in between Hurston and Aberdeen, we can redirect ourselves to aerial. So that sort of benefits us in 2 ways. Anybody watching from around Everest will think we've headed to Aberdeen, and anybody waiting and lurking around the normal points where you would enter the atmosphere at aerial isn't waiting at the point that we'll approach from, because we're coming from a different direction to the standard one from Everest Harbour. So these might seem like quite small things, and they might seem like too much hassle to some people, but if you work these things into your habits, then it is going to help you out in the long run. You'll probably avoid a encounter that you'd rather not have had at some point. So once we're here, we'll just set our course for Lathan and head on there. And I have to say, one of the best things about trading is that it does get you out and around the Stanton system. You get to see all the moons, you get to see all the assets that CIG have been working on. I think sometimes when you do mining or bounty hunting, you can just end up, driving around the same old asteroid fields and not really get to see very many of these locations. And as you come in, just keep an eye on the radar, make sure there's no reds around, and also just be wary of any other player at this point. They could just be waiting for you to fill up your cargo hold. So we're going to bring ourselves into land. Some outposts like this one have the convenience of landing pads, but others will be little more than a single building in the wasteland, so you could have some landings which are a bit rougher than others. Just power down your engines with I, don't power off your ship with U. It's just good to leave your shields up, and also it will save. It will make you quicker to be able to jump back in the seat, get everything on just by hitting I again to power up your engine. So we will take a look around, and we're looking for that orange beacon. It's the same storage building as we sold our goods on the mining run. Some of these moons are hot or cold, so you'll see my survival estimate is ticking along down in my bottom left-hand corner. But when you're trading, you're not really out and about for long enough to worry about different armors or anything. So we'll come over to this trading console, and from the destination, we'll select our MISC Freelancer. Sometimes you just have to click a couple of times on this. So there it is. And this then comes up with the commodities we're able to buy. So there's our titanium. Scroll that all the way up to the top, 6,600 units, 50,082. So the price is actually a bit better at 7.59 than the 7.68 per unit that Galog had down. So for once that has worked to our advantage, not our disadvantage. So that cargo is now in the back of the ship, and it's time to head off and sell it. So just as you come out, just eyes to the skies, and even have your game sounds turned up and your ears peeled for the sound of approaching players. But generally speaking, just be as quick as you can back to that ship. So if we're going through the back way this time, just because I want to show you all that cargo neatly stacked up, we can just about squeeze down the side of this in the Freelancer. In the compartment through this door, there's the last little bit of it. So we will just get ourselves straight into the pilot seat. Engine back on with I. And then we want to sort of be making a full burn to get ourselves away from the trade post as quickly as possible and up out into atmosphere. And herein lies the big downside to trade as it currently stands. So my wallet's currently 50,000 credits lighter. From the moment that titanium is purchased in my hold, it's my risk. And if we get hit by a pirate, or worse, and perhaps more likely, a 30k server crash, that cargo's gone forever, and will be poorer than when we started. So in the other professions, you don't have that risk. So yes, in mining, if you crash when your rock is full of gems, you lose those gems. But you don't ever risk cash that you have in your wallet. In bounty hunting, your only real risk is losing a bit of reputation due to a failed mission. Whereas for trading, we're spending 50,000 to maybe make 8 to 10,000 profit. So we potentially risk the output of many runs just because of one server issue. But we can't complain too much. We've made it to ArcCorp safely. So if we go into our star map with F2, double click on ArcCorp and zoom into the planet's surface, the major landing zones are easy to pick out with that sort of circular icon. And having come this far, just keep your wits about you until you're safely in that armistice zone and into that hangar. So just watch that radar for any sign of other players. And it can be a bit daunting flying into the major landing zones, particularly if it's at night and you're not familiar. I'm looking out for that sort of flat area in between all the skyscrapers for the spaceport Area 18. And it can be useful to sort of pick out the icons of other player ships taking off. And just as soon as you can, call and get yourself landing permission. Generally, from the point that you get landing permission, you're safe from server issues. If the server 30Ks, it will recognize that you called for landing permission and probably store your ship, more likely than not. I'm not going to say that's going to happen every single time, but it has so far for me, touch wood. So just as soon as you can make that call, make that call. And just when it comes to landing in these hangars, which will require you to sort of fly down into them, just use your F4, your third-person mode, and use the free look to get sort of a different angle on the ship. You can tilt it round so that you're looking at your ship from directly top down. And you can even, if you hold F4 down and scroll down with the mouse wheel, then you can even zoom out a bit. So it just helps with getting yourself lined up and making sure you're not going to scratch the paint on this rental Freelancer. So because we've been fairly Hurston bound during this starter guide, I'm going to just show the route that you take to go through Area 18 to the plaza where we're looking to sell the goods. Just as you come past, make sure you stop and store away your ship. It just gets around a bug where sometimes the trade terminal doesn't recognize the ship that's sat in the hangar. There's only one train to get at ArcCorp, so this one just runs between the spaceport and the plaza. But I highly recommend it because particularly when you get it at night, it's quite the view. For any new players, I would really recommend getting around all 4 of the major landing zones now that they've all been completed. So you got ones on Crusader, Hurston, Area 18, and Microtech. They've all had an awful lot of work put into them, and they really are very visually impressive, to the point where you could almost imagine an entire game being set just at one of these cities. So once we're off the train, just through the station, up the stairs, and this takes you out onto the plaza. So the building that we're looking for is TDD, which is just on the right-hand side. And that's the Trade Development Division. So there's one of these on each of the major landing zones. They're effectively forming like the market for that planetary system. We head down this way and we're looking for any of the curved monitors. So these are all trade consoles. So you can just use any one of these. And once we're here, we're going to select sell. And then from the source location, we'll just get that drop down and our MISC Freelancer. There's our 6,600 units of titanium for 58,479. So we've netted about 8.4k from this trade run. Something I have been enjoying recently is using the commodity price alerts. So if you go to your Mobiglass and then journal, you'll get this entry, price alerts. So this tells you where certain stations are understocked and will buy a good for more than they usually do. And it will also sort of fill in with other stations which have an overstock sale price, so they'll sell for less than they usually do. And actually, I've had quite a lot of fun just going around buying and selling on that basis. In real life, for my sit-ins, I'm a finance nerd, so the plans that CIG have for the in-game dynamic economy and trade going forward really interest me. What we have at the moment is a very blunt representation of the plans the devs have. But if you're interested in seeing what's planned, then I'll include a link in the video description to Tony Zerovek's talks on the Quanta system. They are a bit on the long side, but they're well worth the watch if you're interested to see what they're working on. One thing I do hope is coming in the not too distant future is missions tied to cargo hauling, so that you can take goods from one side of the system to the other on behalf of an AI organization. So this could have reputation built in, just like the bounty hunting, so that you'd only be trusted with the big jobs if you've proved yourself. And it could even involve an RNG chance for you to be interdicted by NPC pirates, giving you a reason to split the pay with others to man your turrets or provide escort. I think anything which makes people play together is going to be good for the game. So trade currently suffers that risk that just a 30k and you lose not only your profit from your run but the cash you invested in your cargo load. So it makes it probably my least recommended profession for those looking to build up some cash. But if we could have missions that involved not putting your own cash on the line, I think that would be a really big improvement. With all that said, if you did find this video interesting, then please consider subscribing to the channel. It does really help me out. And if you're an old hand, consider sharing this mini-series with folks you come across in your organizations or out in the verse, just if you think it would help them get going. And with all that said, thanks very much for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.